static bends tonight, towards stone walls and corridors where the air never changes. Some houses breathe, others remember, and a few are haunted by memory itself. The signal has locked onto one such memory. She is not cloaked in fire or blood, but in sorrow. They call her the Grey Lady, and though she walks softly, her silence is the heaviest curse of all.
There are spirits that claw and wail, demanding to be noticed, but the Grey Lady does not need to. Her silence is deeper than any scream. Imagine stepping inside a vast and ancient manor. It's stone cold. The only light, the sputtering flame of the candle in your hand. The air suddenly feels colder, heavier, as though a deep, profound sigh has just been drawn. The shadows cling to the corners, and the silence seems to press down on your eardrums. Then, at the far end of the corridor, you see her. A woman, still as stone, her figure a gray blur blending into the shadows, her gown barely visible but undeniable. She does not move, she does not speak, but you know, with an ache in your bones, that she is watching. For some, she vanishes when they blink, leaving behind nothing but the cold taste of iron in the air. For others, she lingers, drifting slowly down hallways, her form trailing mist like forgotten memories. Eyewitnesses often describe not terror, but an unbearable melancholy, as though they have accidentally stepped into another person's grief. She doesn't chase, she doesn't harm. She reminds you that sorrow can be just as haunting as rage, and far more patient. Her silence is patient, as though it remembers something deeper. Deeper than walls, deeper than time. Almost as though silence itself has a will. And if sorrow remembers, then we must ask, whose sorrow was it first? The Grey Lady legend has no single birthplace, and that is part of her enduring mystery. She emerges again and again, across Britain, Ireland, and much of Europe, each time tied to a house, a castle, or an abbey. In one tale, she is a young bride who died in the week before her wedding. The dress never worn, the vows never spoken, the music silenced before the first note. In another, she is a grieving mother who lost her child. In yet another, a betrayed wife, poisoned by her husband and buried beneath the flagstones. And some say she was buried alive. The walls do not forget. Her story is rarely one of vengeance. Instead, the Grey Lady embodies regret that echoes in the walls of buildings older than memory. From Scotland's Glamis Castle, where she drifts through the chapel, to the countless manors of England, her form remains consistent, pale, indistinct, cloaked in gray. This consistency is part of the haunting itself. She wears the color of ash, of dust, and of the shadow that remains after the flame of life has gone out. She is a shadow of sorrow that lingers wherever people live with unfinished grief. The Grey Lady has been seen so many times, in so many places, that she has become part of the folklore of the land itself. In grand estates like Longleat House, visitors report glimpses of her on the grand staircase. At Lumley Castle, she is tied to Lady Lumley, murdered by her husband. Witnesses describe not only sightings, but overwhelming sensations. Sudden drops in temperature so sharp that breath hangs in the air, and a faint smell of lavender or rose water drifting through corridors where no flowers grow. One visitor wrote in a diary, "I felt her eyes upon me, though her face was gone, and the staircase was suddenly too long to climb alone. And when I reached the top, I realized I hadn't heard my own footsteps at all." Some who see her swear they dream of her for weeks after, her figure waiting in the doorway of their sleep, watching silently until they wake. This leads to the only defense against her. And so, From centuries of sightings came not only fear, but ritual. People began to wonder, if she cannot be stopped, how then can she be faced? Folklore teaches that the only protection is to honor her distance, to not disturb the memory. Perhaps the act of acknowledgement is more than superstition. Perhaps it is a pact, a recognition that grief deserves space, even when it no longer breathes. In the modern world, the Gray Lady has adapted. She has traded candlelight for fluorescent hum. Hotel guests wake to see a pale figure at the foot of their beds. Security guards, reviewing surveillance footage, find a shadow moving through locked doors. Online, her legend thrives, carried by fresh testimonies of sightings in modern schools and hospitals built on older ground. Some claim she even lingers in photographs, her outline appearing where no one stood. A pale blur on a home camera feed, a figure frozen in a single frame of a live stream. And those who dismiss her as myth often find her in their dreams instead. Silent, patient, waiting in the doorway of their sleep. The unsettling truth is this: the Gray Lady may not be bound to castles and manors. Some claim the static in recordings carries her sigh, a low hum, too human to be machinery. She may be anywhere sorrow lingers long enough. A hospital hallway, a school, even the corner of your own home. The Gray Lady is not a tale of rage, but of remembrance. She appears where loss runs deepest. She is sorrow given form, grief given footsteps. The air feels cold, because sorrow never warms. And the next time your headlights flash across a country lane and illuminate a pale, motionless figure, ask yourself, am I seeing an omen? Or have I simply driven into someone else's unending sorrow? And if she steps into your path, ask whether it is the road you fear, or whether it is the sorrow itself that has chosen you.
So, the Gray Lady lingers still. She does not claw, she does not howl, and yet she leaves a mark more lasting than blood. Wanderers, remember this: not all haunts are loud. The quiet ones are often the most dangerous. They slip beneath your skin and remain long after the candle burns down. Respect her if you meet her. Do not laugh. Do not deny, for to mock grief is to invite it, and grief has a way of finding its way home. I have seen it before, wanderers, in other halls, in other worlds, and sometimes even I cannot tell whether I am observing sorrow or whether it is observing me. Perhaps grief itself is a great old one, wearing faces across centuries, and perhaps the Gray Lady is only one of its masks. If her silence held you, seek the next signal while the current still shimmers. Follow the frequency, wanderer.